King Diesel D.
And you got your main man Zen, aka Zenmus.
All right.
Let's do this
So,
tonight.
who wants to start it off?
I think you're the biggest Rick and Morty fan over here, so you should start it off.
Oh, okay.
Look at you.
Can I start it off? Can I start? Well, not
Yeah,
start it
yeah,
off.
go for it. Go for it.
What I want to start it off with is a question. I want you to go ahead, XL. I want you to go ahead and answer this one. How would you feel? 'Cause I remember we were talking about this earlier. How would you feel, or what in your mind it would be to be Rick? Like, what would it be like to be Rick? Like, and then when you think about it, as a question, you remember Rick is technically. Remember that little mind. We were in his mind in that arc where he was in prison. That I feel like is almost is very close to what actually happened. If just from like theories and whatnot, that Rick became the infinite Rick because he knows about all these other multiverses, all these other Ricks. He's the Rickest of the Ricks because he doesn't want to be a part of the Council of Ricks. So, what do you like in that mindset of what would you do if you had that kind of knowledge and you could just travel to a different universe, different time travel, stuff like that? What would be your ideal life to live in that situation?
Man, that's a big question because I know like Rick, man, he can pretty much do anything, and they stated this so many times in Rick and Morty show. Like he's like, I could be God, but I don't want to be a jerk and stuff like that. So, what would I do? What couldn't I do would be the answer I'll put out there. What couldn't I do? I mean, but I probably just travel. I wouldn't stay in one place. That's one thing I know I do.
Okay.
So to answer that question, anybody else can take that up though.
What you got, King Dizzle?
I always like, even though Rick's a butthole, I always liked him. Wise is the way he looks at everything. This might sound kind of weird, but the way he looks at it is like, okay, yeah, you're my family, but if like y'all blow up right now, I know right now where I can skip and go get another family that's like close to y'all. So like, just know you're not really as important as you think you are, because I can replace you with a heart attack. I think it's something I realized in the show. The thing I think Rick likes Morty a lot more than he cares to. That's why I like Rick so much. Cause yeah, he seems like a butthole, but he's also a caring person. Like I think I'm kind of like that. I'm a butthole, but I'm a caring person. So I can relate to him on that level.
I can relate. Oh, go ahead.
Well, my thing was for that in particular. Was I definitely agree with it. Because I view Rick as a anti-hero. Like I recently watched a video just describing anti-hero and why Vegeta is probably the best, or like that Vegeta is used as a base for anti-heroes. Yeah. So for Rick.
I'm Vegeta fan as well.
For me, it's Vegeta mainly because Piccolo has done some dark stuff. Piccolo has been like the antithesis of Goku, the villain, whatnot. But Vegeta has like a bigger road to grow. So we follow Piccolo in Dragon Ball. But my more or less my childhood was growing up with Dragon Ball Z. And from the start, we got to see Vegeta like destroying planets and stuff. He was killing. He showed up to Earth ready to kill all of them mercilessly. Even when he was on Namek, that was like one of the first times we saw him have like the same direction as everyone else. And that's my thing with Rick. I feel like Rick has a lot of baggage. He has a lot of he's been around a while. That's the whole thing with the theory regarding what is his name? Evil Morty, basically the President Morty of the council. Yeah. That people are theorizing that was Rick's original Morty. And remember, I don't know if you guys pay too close attention. Remember when Rick said a cocky Morty is a dangerous Morty? That's my thing, because evil Morty is very confident in himself. He has he's a Rick-esque swagger. He's very calculating and thoughtful in everything that he does. So it's like Morty grew up with a Rick in his life from the beginning. Because remember the memories that we got to see from Evil Rick? Not Evil, well, it was like technically Evil Rick that was holding the R Rick hostage with the other Mortys. But we found out he was being controlled. Yeah, we found out he was being controlled. Rick wasn't in Morty's life when he was a baby because in the beginning we know Rick has been gone for about 20 years now. He's been out of their lives for 20 years. So Beth, there was like a little like a frame or a picture. We saw Rick holding a baby Morty. When does that happen? When does that happen in that 20 years? Because if Rick wasn't around for 20 years, how does he have a baby Morty? That's just one of those theories that I was thinking about. But when it comes to a anti-hero, and that's why I think of Rick has the power to accomplish pretty much any and everything. Like, there's this one episode where he like brings about world peace, ends all the fighting over in Iran and other countries like in a day. Not even a day, a couple of hours. He ends all the wars like that. And he named a bill. What is it? Pretty easy if you just really think about it. That's what he named a bill that they signed into action to bring in peace. So, and with me relating to Rick, it's more or less that he has a past and he's trying to do better because he cried when he saw Morty, and he understands that even with the whole Beth thing, like he didn't just up and leave, except for the time where they pretty much destroy the entire world. But you know, he's being more upfront with them. He's a realist. He sees the world for as it is, and he sees it at its core. He has the power to pretty much change and do any and everything. That's why he has such a problem with people and their optimism, because he's like, it's whatever. You know, he knows the outcome, and he can change the outcome, but he chooses not to, because what's the point? What's the point of changing it when, you know, you just have all the answers? And that's my thing. Like, he has all the answers. He can do whatever he wants. It feels so weird because he if anything, if he had a god complex, which he sort of does, it's in his universe. It's kind of warranted because we've seen what he can do, what he can make up, what he can invent, things like that. He went and destroyed the entire, what is that, the galactic government or whatever. He brought it down by a click of a button, because that's just, it's insane for me. I love Rick and Morty. I love Rick.
The reason why I like Rick is also because Rick's really smart, but Rick makes a lot of mistakes. The only difference is Rick owns up to those mistakes and finds a solution around them really quickly. Because a lot of the troubles and issues he starts having are because he makes a mistake. He just figures out a way to turn this negative into a positive quick enough where nobody will really think that he made the mistake. I like with like earlier you were talking about Morty. I think the way he phrased that, I think he said basically he was telling his Morty, "You're the Mortiest Morty." I think evil Morty is the Rickest Morty. He's the Morty who's the most like Rick, and that's why because he literally, I'm gonna teach him everything I know. So that Morty literally knows everything he knows, but he's also a little bit more calculated with it. So Rick was probably like, wait a minute, there can't be two of exactly this me that I am. That's essentially what he did with Morty. Because imagine if the council of Ricks was an entire council of nothing but Ricks that thought like our Rick.
Sure.
That would be real dangerous.
That would definitely be dangerous. But I also feel like if they thought like our Rick, they wouldn't be together. Remember, he was like, he's the richest Rick of them all, because they fear the government, or they don't want to be a part of the government and be chained down by the government. So they created a government. That's a paradox in that of itself. So if you had more Ricks that thought like our Rick, there wouldn't be one. But at the same time, if they were to work together in some capacity, that would be very dangerous. That definitely would be very dangerous.
I think it's more dangerous to have. I think it would be more dangerous to have a bunch of Ricks like our Rick, but none of them be a part of a group. Like, imagine if there was a bunch. Think of the damage that our Rick causes in just a few universes he visits. Imagine if there were an infinite number of those Ricks and they're all over the place.
Okay, yeah, because let's look at it though. Oh, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, I was gonna say there would be nowhere for our Rick to like skip around to, because potentially there would have been already another Rick who like from the Cronenberg episode. There would have been already a Rick who Cronenberg this world. So when he got ready to go to it, it would have already been damaged from what the other Rick did. So like it would have limited the world the other Rick could travel to because another Rick would have already rigged it up.
Well, let's look at this though. Rick had a discussion with, I forgot his name though, like the assassin in season 3.
Oh, it was some weird
Wayne
name.
Pickle Rick.
Yeah.
And the assassin asked Rick, he like, so do I got infinite families out there too? And infinite daughters? And Rick like, no, just me. and I find that was like funny and interesting at the same time because the word infinite meaning there's no end to the universes that he could jump to. So like even if every Rick in the Rick Council was like the Rick that we watch, there would still be dimensions that he can jump to that would be okay, you know, because they got infinite. So that's the thinking right there I'm coming from. I'm like, there's no limit.
That's very true. That's very true. And that's the thing. I feel like that's like the biggest part of Rick in himself, the fact that he knows there's always in his mind there's always a way out. I want to go back and harken back to, remember that episode where it was Rick and Morty and they had barely I think they've been gone for like weeks and they were fighting this battle. Like we just get cut to them fighting this battle and they are barely scraping by. Like Rick is barely getting anything together. And they have their award ceremony, whatever. And they get into the ship and they lose it. Morty's crying. He's like, bro, why do you keep doing this to us? Rick's like, I don't know. He's like, he's like, I don't understand. Maybe I hate myself. Because when you think about it, we don't know enough about what happened in Rick's past. I think one of the only tidbits we get regarding his past is like sometimes Burr person might say something, or that hive mind chick or planet or whatever. I forgot the name of that one, but that's sort of like Rick's past and a little bit of tidbit of that. And like we always get information regarding Rick in passing that you kind of have to go back and rewatch. It just kind of like a lot of what he says has meaning, or not necessarily meaning towards like the overarching plot, but more meaning towards like his character as a whole. With his whole alcoholism and things of that nature, that's just like layered stuff to kind of hide the truth of who Rick is. And with that being said, you know how you was talking about there's just infinite different universes. He had infinite daughters, Morty's, like his family is infinite of them. I feel like because he knows, like I said, because he knows there's a way out, life doesn't feel like it's worth living when you have a way out. Like you have basically you have an easy button for everything. But in that instance, it's with Rick doing all this reckless stuff and doing all these dangerous things. He's kind of sitting back like, dude, like, why am I doing this? Why am I putting myself in this position? Like, oh, I like adventure, but why am I taking my grandson around with me and putting his life in danger at the same time as well? Like, what is driving Rick to other than plot? What is driving Rick to really go out and do this stuff and endanger himself in the way that he does?
Yeah, because I've always thought, because I have a tendency to start speculating on shows and movies like from jump, as soon as it starts. From the first or the second episode? I think it's the first, where they go and they get the seeds and he makes Morty smuggle them. I thought from the beginning, and then as I watch the show, it kind of becomes more prevalent. I think the reason why our Rick is so much smarter than other Ricks is because he uses those seeds to increase his intelligence. He's already super intelligent as it is, and using that just kind of doubles what he already had. I mean, we have a Rick who literally figured out a way to beat the devil. I think a Rick makes himself smarter by doing that, So that's what makes him so much different than the other ones, because I'm sure none of the rest of them have probably thought about that before.
Or like, but
Because they're
like
cocky, so they don't think they can get smarter.
the fact that Rich know about the seed, wouldn't you think like the other Rich know about it too? Because everything each Rich knows, they also know, and because they went the same kind of
But
like.
there's a farm. There's a farm for those seeds on the Federation planet that they have.
Yeah, yeah. But I think that's what the elixir that they be drinking. Why you always see them with a druid on. I think they be drinking that stuff like they have to drink it every maybe hour or something like that, and just stay ahead of the game. Because let's remember, he not only have the other rich to worry about, but he also have the other species, like the other aliens that's after his knowledge and stuff. So he got to somehow give himself an edge, you know. And I think that all the rich do that, not because of each other, but because of the other enemies that they have.
Yeah.
It made me think about like who was actually the first Rick, you know?
Oh God.
I also want to make a quick comment as well.
Just
I would just sit here thinking I answered my own question earlier regarding why would Rick involve Morty into his own escapades. I forgot later on we figure out that the reason why Rick's always travel with the Morty is because of Morty's dumb waves or whatever waves that there's Morty whenever he is around Rick. Whenever Rick is around Morty, he gets camouflaged. So the Federation has a harder time finding Rick and what he's doing. I forgot that was mentioned.
Yeah, that's why I also think he said a cocky Morty is a dangerous thing, because you very rarely see dumb cocky people. If you're cocky, it's probably because you feel like you're smart. So I feel like the smarter a Morty gets, the less he can be cloaked by him. So if he makes a Morty smart, he has no use for him. So now you're dumb. Now mine, you're almost as smart as I am. I don't have any reason for you anymore. I need for you to go away.
Yeah, pretty much.
To me,
that's a good example.
Yeah, yeah, that's why I think Evil Morty is his first Morty, and he basically he started getting too smart, so he can't camouflage me anymore. So I kind of just have to move on. So he just moved on. And now Evil Morty is resentful of that, so now he's trying to hunt him down.
Hey, wouldn't it be crazy?
Yeah, that's a good example.
The Evil Morty is that Morty brother or something like that?
What?
Twin brother.
His brother. Wait a minute.
I wouldn't be surprised if there is, since there are infinite universes, because I thought about something like that too. If there's maybe a universe where Beth had twin Mortys, like they're they're twins, and maybe Rick favored one over the other, and then something happens to one of them, and the other Morty twin adapts his brother's name and hunts down Rick to get revenge for him. Because in the opening credits, there's a Morty who pretty much gets eaten. We might as well say he falls down, and those monsters come for him, and I don't see a film pop up.
And Rick keep on running. He's like, bump that. But let's look at this fact though. You said like if there were two Mortys or whatever. Let's bring it back to the idea of like the evil Morty being his original Morty and ended up too smart. This happened before in the Rick and Morty show, where Morty had got a piece of him that doubted himself, like separated from him, and he actually became smarter. And so the factor about them, if they become smarter, I don't know, because I'm trying to get my words right, but the Rick that we know of, he stayed with that Morty. and so I don't think it have anything to do with just it not only their intelligence, but I think it got something to do with them being Marty. Period. You know,
Well, I'm just,
that's what I believe.
I'm just making speculation because the best thing about Rick and Morty show, it's like a show that you can just like what if, and think of like crazy stuff, and it could be possible. Like the whole factor of the evil Morty might be that Morty brother because they showed that the evil Morty was like they did projects like written did stuff to that Morty. So if there was like twins born, you can easily be like slip one out and be like, well, let me do some stuff and just for fun, just to see how Morty would become and stuff like that. And adding in the factor that Rick erases Morty's memories of stuff is a factor too. So
Yeah, I didn't even think I'd forgotten about that because Rick has gone in and erased some significant things, some less significant things, but he has gone in and literally just probed Morty for a lot of stuff, and I feel like that's also to avoid another occurrence of an evil Morty, quote unquote, or a Morty that's
Mm-hmm.
more akin to Rick, because children are very impressionable. Like whoever you're around, who's raising you, you're going to reflect them in some you reflect them in some like fashion. So with Rick being such an influential person that he is and being very intelligent, he has to be very careful because he knows what Morty is capable of, or at least he knows that there's a chance for Morty to become like the evil Morty that we've met so far. And my thing with the whole reason why Rick is even around in Morty, it may be akin to him just loving his grandson and loving his family in his own type of way. But again, I feel like it's more or less to deal with that he's more camouflage with the Morty, and Morty being who he is, and when if he realized that, well, like he realized that now. Uh, let me just make this point. So I don't know if you guys have noticed, but in the third season, towards the middle slash end, where Morty's a little bit more morbid, Morty's a little bit more realistic. Remember the purge kind of thing that happened? Like Morty, he's losing that innocent side to himself. He's getting more of an edge. So remember when we found out that with Mortys you can camouflage themselves. So with a bunch of Mortys in constant pain, you can camouflage yourself from any Rick. So and Morty saw that, he was upset, and he kind of it kind of felt like during the beginning of that season we kind of got to see Morty becoming less and less enthralled and enthusiastic about hanging out with Rick, and more or less loathing him, regretting even doing anything with Rick, just wanting Rick out of his life because Rick has put Morty through so much stuff. Like the stuff that Morty like remembers is insane. Like because if he's already like upset at Rick with like what he still currently remembers, imagine what would happen if all this stuff that Rick has wiped from his mind gets replaced back. I feel like that's something probably happened with Evil Morty.
I think his
That's
boiling
deep.
point of taking Rick crap was like the superhero of Rick and Morty universe, and
Yeah.
you can just tell he's like, okay, I'm tired of it. Crap. He's like, yeah, you're super smart, yeah, you this, but like it doesn't matter if no one don't want you around or something like that, or people tire of your crap.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter how smart you are.
Yeah, it's very true. You can't burn all your bridges. You cannot.
So
But that's Rick though. He don't care.
yeah, he do care because
I think deep down he does care.
he
That's why I
wouldn't
think he
have
just
chose
hides it
like
well.
that last episode. He wouldn't have chose to stay if he didn't care. You know,
Oh yeah, you got a
there
point.
was
Thank you.
nothing, no good reason for Rick to stay. You know, that Morty has reached a pinnacle of like he think like in Rick's eyes, he probably like he think he knows better than him and stuff. And he think he got the upper hand, and that Belf is probably not the real Belf. I'm still going on that it's not the real Belf, but other than that,
Yeah, and like you said, like there's no reason for Rick to stay, because remember when Rick said he's like the least, like the lower bar character now in the family after the whole thing where he confronted them in the
Yeah, he did a
that
Deadpool thing.
yeah that log cabin, but so then he goes and then comes back and pretends to be another Rick so he can bury the hatchet with the president, and then that's the thing, like Morty has kind of grown tired of Rick. Like he already has stuff to do with like his parents. And, like, his parents are in a weird state between like a divorce or separation, stuff like that. You know, his sister's
And he
dealing.
blames Rick for that.
Yeah, and he blames Rick for it because Rick admitted that. Rick admitted to doing that, to concocting that, and forcing Beth to leave Jerry. Remember at the end of that was one of the end of the episode. He was bragging to Morty that since Jerry decided he wanted to turn him into the world government, he brought down the world government, the galactic government, and Jerry got Jerry kicked out, and now he was I'm in there now, and there's no getting me rid of me. And if you go snitch to your mother, I mean, I saved both your lives. Like, who is she gonna believe? Who is she gonna believe? She saved both their lives, got out of prison, and came back all in one fell swoop. And it's very true. And you would think Rick would just go ahead and up and leave. Now he's done what he wanted to do. He's kind of tired, doesn't want to be around anymore. Everybody kind of just doesn't want to be like with him, or they're aggravated or frustrated with him. But it's not the fact that he has come back and trying to at least mend it in some form or fashion. It shows that he has some ounce of care in his heart.
so what is everyone's thoughts on like the new season that's gonna be coming out?
I'm ready for it. I'm beyond ready for it.
Yeah, we get to see it soon too. So
I want so much
I'm ready.
Evil Morty.
I can't wait.
I want so much Evil Morty. I want Evil Morty to have. I want there to be a couple episodes where Evil Morty he's confronting our Rick and our Morty right now, and he's explaining or trying to turn our Morty over onto his side against Rick. And Morty's already kind of on that route of being against Rick in every form or fashion. Like, he's already getting.
Oh yeah.
Like,
yeah, because the episode where we shot him, if that gun had been real, he would have killed Rick.
He would have killed Rick 100%.
I feel like Beth is gonna be the biggest issue of like season 4 or the new season. Because if you see everyone in the family has transitioned to a certain point because they done gone through Rick world, like how he see the world and the stuff he does.
Well, Beth has as well.
Yeah, but like I said earlier, I still don't think that's the real Beth. So,
well, that's not the original. That's not the original Beth and stuff that we've dealt with. Remember, they came from that Cronenberg world that they left. So that's not the original Beth.
Oh yeah, I know. I mean, like the real Beth of that dimension.
It's like she's a grown.
Yeah, I think she actually went out in space and stuff because that's what he said. Like, just go and explore yourself and stuff like that. Like, if you want, you can choose to do this, and you can come back, and like nothing will happen. And like, I think that's the whole reason why he was trying to cover up that was a fake Beth, because it would kind of affect the family if they did figure it out. Like, oh, she left the family and stuff.
But remember, they came to terms with that as well. Because they came to terms because she at the end she was like she didn't care if she was fake or not. It didn't matter, but she was going to love her family and try to be with him. And they all kind of came to grips with it, like, yeah, if she is fake, it's whatever. This is still our mom. And for me, I feel like the biggest focal point I would like for this next season, like I said, would be on the Evil Morty and the Morty aspect of it. I want to see. Remember when they went through that vacation thing and they got all the negativity pulled out of them? Remember that Morty? That Morty was the closest thing to what you would consider a evil Morty. He didn't have as much hate, but he had so much more confidence. He left home, got an apartment, got a job as a stockbroker, and was putting in work. Like, he was actively a success. He found
had a grown woman girlfriend.
He had a grown woman girlfriend. Like, he was on top of the world. that's my thing. Morty is so much. I feel like Morty is more dangerous than Rick, but only if he has confidence, and if he can get an ounce of that from his introduction or his inevitable meeting with evil Morty, things are going to change for the best. Like they're gonna be so good, and I cannot wait to see what's gonna happen.
Okay, so here was an idea I was thinking about of what they could do. And would y'all be against the idea of, okay, let's say that he makes her own portal gun so she could go off, and that the Beth we have is a clone. And upon Beth getting her own portal gun, she finds there's a council of Beth somewhere, and that all of them have realized that Ricks are toxic.
That would be
Would
crazy.
y'all be against an idea like that?
I would want to watch it though. That would be crazy.
To me, that's a recurring theme in the show. Beth is the most oblivious person to the stuff that her dad does. Morty used to be oblivious, but Morty's come to terms with it after seeing how his dad has done.
If
So,
there's anything the show showed me, like Beth is the most scariest character up there, and in Rick's words, it shows that because he said you freaking scared me as a kid. Basically, he said.
oh yeah, she was demented as a child. Some of those things he made for her was ridiculous.
So when you think about all the stuff Rick done came up against, you think like his little daughter scared him. Oh, like you, what what she's possible of doing?
Well, come on, pirates scare Rick. Pirates.
Yeah,
any person dressed up as a pirate scare Rick, and that's the only reason for me. The reason why I don't feel that Beth is gonna have too big of a role for next season is mainly because we've seen her character arc, and she might be a clone. She might be a clone, and she's still out there doing her thing, but they have come to terms with Rick just being a shitty person. They have come to terms with that. Like when they had that whole family get together in that log cabin, they aired everything out, and Beth had just basically said straight up she was done. Like the whole thing with the that world they went to with Tommy, and he was with his children / things he would eat. So she has this idea that she wants to blame Rick for every bad thing that happened to her as a kid, or the fact that, and Rick has admitted, he's like, yeah, I was a shitty dad. Like, and she kept showing off. Rick kept showing off these things to her. She's like, she said the thing like, well, maybe I was just trying to get your attention. Maybe I was just trying to get you to play with me, pay attention to me, do stuff with me. I'm like, there's a lot of toys in there. So you spent a good amount of time dealing with Rick. You spent a good amount of time having him do stuff for you. There was a lot of different things, and he created an entire world for you. So
an entire world.
So she came to grips with that. She just leaned on him too much. That she required herself to have his approval for everything. And when she finally broke away with that, she finally started talking to Jerry again. She told her kids like, "Hey, I might be a clone, but I'm still gonna be your mother." That was her character arc in my mind. And I feel like a character that has a lot of growing to do, other than Jerry, I don't mind if he stays the same, which would be what is their daughter name? Is Beth more? Is Summer? So Summer. I feel like Summer still has some growing to do, because even towards the end, when Morty had to kind of tell her like, "Hey, that's my grave out there. I wake up every day, brush my teeth, go to the bathroom, do all the things I normally do, 20 feet away from my own grave. Like that's heavy." Like no one is asked to be born. So, and he had to let her know like life is hard. Life is hard.
I think Summer's growth came a lot from the arc where, what episode where she was in that apocalyptic world. I think Summer grew over that time period where they were over there. Because she even managed to come to terms with the whole divorce thing with her dad. Because I don't think she's ever really liked her dad that much. And I think that moment was like her where she really realized, like, my dad's a weirdo, but he's still my dad. So I think she's grown a little bit too.
If Beth had her arc, definitely she had her arc too. because like she done gotten to the point where um she knows stuff that she got to do for like Rick just without Rick even knowing and stuff. Because like the whole memory erasing thing, like if it wasn't for her, they would be in big trouble and stuff.
They'll be
And
dead right now.
it seemed like she done did that so many times too. That's the bad thing about that. Like it's like a common thing for it to happen and for her to do that. She like, oh yeah, this is level 4. Okay.
And that's
Wow.
another
Yep.
reason why I don't. That's another reason why I don't think Rick has an infinite number of worlds he can go to. This particular Rick, in some type of way, values every member of the family. Jerry is the person to pick on. Then there's, of course, the natural reasons why he likes Morty. Summer, for the reason why you just said, because occasionally she is dependable when it comes to him and Morty screwing up. Beth, because ultimately I think he loves her. So there are versions of their universes where Summer doesn't exist. Because you remember when they used the goggles and it forward, she couldn't find
Oh
that
yeah.
many worlds where she existed.
Oh, true.
Yeah, true.
But like, that's the thing. Also, like, the creators, Dan and Justin, you know, they like to they say they like to keep people on their feet, and that's why they don't look at like what people like might be thinking, might be happening, because they don't want it to affect their writing. So when like no telling how they gonna like plan out the next season or make it run. You know, like you might think it's going this way, and they might like do a 360 on everything.
Yeah.
Because like the first few beginnings of the first season or whatever, they showed that nothing is bolted down. They went from this dimension to another one. Not just Rick, but Morty. He took Morty with him and stuff. So, and of course, that was a way for people watching to feel the same way by using him, because like doing that was new to him. So, you know that the writer's trick.
But I think this too. Let's get back to the fact about Summer didn't see herself in too many worlds. But at the same time, Jerry and daughter didn't end up together in so many different realities.
Mm-hmm.
So there's still infinite daughters, because that's what he was talking about. The guy asked him, "Do I have infinite daughters?" And Rick was like, "No, only me." So either way, he gonna always have a daughter, but he might not
No,
always have Summer or a
I don't know,
Jerry or
like,
whatever.
that's what I was saying. He chooses because you remember earlier Jimmy was talking about how he chooses to stay. Why he wanted to particularly stay in this world, because if I had infinite number of worlds and this world's not going the way I wanted to, and I got Rick's thought process, I'm going to another world. It's less headache. So I feel like at this point he's exhausted a lot of those worlds where he has the complete family, because he values each of them in a different way. If you also looking back at the show, there's been a point where he's pretty much told everybody, "I don't value you," and then he's done a complete 180 on that and turned around. So I feel like
But
he does love the entire family, because even Jerry, because it gives him somebody to pick on. Look at the episode where Morty made him go get Jerry and take him on an adventure, and they went on their adventure. He actually ended up liking Jerry
mm,
at the end of the
well, I
episode.
think I
I wouldn't say he completely ended up liking Jerry, because like at the end of that, like,
I think
go ahead.
no. Oh no, yeah, I wasn't talking about Jerry. So you can finish what you was talking about.
Oh, like the end of that episode, like Jerry tries to step in, like, you see there, okay, bye bye, and close the door on him and stuff. So it all resulted on how he wanted Morty to feel. So, Cause like the whole day, he like, hey, Morty want me to like take you on an adventure, so you know don't shoot yourself or something. You're like,
Thank
my
you,
goodness.
thank you. Now,
Yeah,
now I'm gonna jump
yeah,
in because look,
but
now hold up. This is the thing though, where everybody looking at the family, but Rick only liked this family. It ain't that he liked the family per se, it's that he liked this Morty. And this is where that Morty chose to stay, so he's like, dang, I'm gonna stay with him because I love this Morty. You know what I'm
okay,
saying?
but here's the issue with that. He doesn't have to do that. He can always wipe this Morty's memory and take him somewhere else. This is
True,
Rick.
true.
Oh
This
wow.
is
I don't
this
even
is
think he thought of that.
Oh, you know
this
what?
is Rick.
What if
This is
this
Rick we're talking about.
season?
I
Yeah,
don't think he thought of that though.
Rick has no qualms with killing himself, like killing a version of himself. He has no qualms with it.
Yeah. So I think our Rick is getting soft. He's starting to actually love this family for
Yeah,
whatever they provide him with.
who said that to him? Said that to him one time in the episode.
It was another Rick.
Because they're like,
Another Rick said that.
Hmm.
He was like, "Oh, you really love him. We can see that."
oh, you love him, don't you? You're like, and he trying
Well,
to say quick quotes.
that was
Even
that
even
was
that fake Rick said it. The evil Morty built that robot Rick.
and based. So my thing is that Rick was dead. That Rick was a dead Rick with that receiver in his head. So everything that he was saying and or doing was being reflected by that evil
By
Morty.
evil
So
Morty.
that
Yep.
was when evil Morty said Ricks don't love Mortys. That was literally just evil Morty
A
saying
Morty
Ricks
saying it.
have no care for Mortys. That's his ideology. That's what he
From
thinks.
his
From his
from his
experience.
experience with Rick's. Yep. That's the same thing I was thinking. His experience with Ricks have led him to believe they don't care about them. And then living in the Citadel would show you that because you see how all of the Ricks and the Mortys, how all the Ricks treat all of the Mortys in the Citadel. Like it's an entire city of just Gen Z men who don't have Ricks who just get discarded.
Even that cop
Yeah,
Morty
sure.
was like these Rickless Mortys, you know, basically calling them lesser Mortys because they didn't have a Rick. Or then at the same time, when those
I
same
got a
Mortys
question.
were asking where his Rick was, and he was sitting there like, I don't need a Rick. I can handle myself, stuff like that. You had a question?
Yeah, I got a question for everyone. If you were able to write an episode, what would that episode be about? Like for the new season or so?
Ooh, this is a good one.
Who want to go first?
I would like to go first.
Go ahead.
So my episode would be a very interesting one. So you know how how we're walking around, we're first person. That's how that episode would be the entire time. But the characters that we see on screen in that first person view would be Rick, Beth, Jerry, Morty, and Summer. We see them all in a first person view, like as we're actually there, but we have no idea who we are looking through the eyes of. And let's go like this. Let's say we like in the beginning of the episode, like very beginning, all we see is a younger version of Rick and a younger version of Beth. Who do you think we are looking through the eyes of if we see a younger version of Rick and a younger version of Beth? Let's say she's maybe a 5-year-old kid at this time. Who do you think we're looking through the eyes of? Beth's mother. We don't know who Beth's mother is, and I would just like to do it like that. Like we're in a universe where Beth's mother is still around, right? And we're just kind of going through, like we see a young Beth, we see a young Rick. We're like, what is this? And they're going through their day-to-day lives. Then it's gonna be like a little bit of a time skip, but instead of whatever happened in the past with that other Rick and Beth doesn't happen, and now she's around with the older Rick, older Beth. She sees Jerry, there's a Morty, there's Summer, and they're kind of going through the motions of life as well in that instance. But then I would like to do it where something happens and evil Morty shows up and he kills the character that we're looking through the eyes of. Imagine some twist where evil Morty has been going around and killing Beth's mother, because he's been doing that in different universes, and this is the thing, he's been doing that in different universes so he could make another Morty like himself, because the Morty that we are with doesn't know who his grandmother is, and he is more like evil Morty than anything. Evil Morty has been trying to concoct and make another Morty like himself, to have another partner in crime. He's trying to get all the Mortys to view Rick's the way he does.
Not to cut you off, I'm
That's
gonna
deep.
continue, but I just wanted to like say something like, what if evil Morty was like a old Morty that keep like transitioning his mind to another Morty?
Yeah, that and that you can work that into the episode as well, because basically what the episode I would do would be a lot of world building and a lot of expanding on evil Morty's mythos and things like that, because he's the focal point right now at least, and that we're about to transition to like see what they're gonna do with them. That would blow my mind. And I was just thinking about it, like, man, that is crazy. Like, evil Morty has been going around to universes where Beth's mother is still alive, in the hopes of, when if he kills her, takes her out of Morty's actual life and have Morty grow up without his grandmother being a part of it. So with his grandmother not being a part of it, we don't know more or less if she had the effect of, now that she's gone, Rick's more bitter, Beth's more reliant on her father, Jerry's still Jerry probably still say the same, and then Summer, she still feels crappy about being the oldest and ruining her parents' lives, and then Morty, who is very impressionable, turns out more like Rick. He sees the world in a more realistic. Morty, you gotta remember, Morty was a young 14-year-old kid who all he wanted to do was get with this girl at his school. That's all he wanted, with Jessica. That's all he wanted. But to be thrown into these different adventures and have his life put on the line constantly, have his grandfather just be an alcoholic and be an a-hole all the time, and his family falling apart, that's a lot of mental stress on somebody. And if anything, you would imagine or think that person would would look at the world in a negative light, would see nothing that would be good in that world. And you can see that, like, that's probably like a prerequisite for that evil Morty to transfer his conscience over to that body, is for that Morty to view the world that he does, like, view it the way that he views that world. And that would be crazy. That'd be, I would love an episode like that. That was my 2 cents on an episode. You guys got any?
I'll go. It's funny you said about the Beth's mother, because my idea was around something along the same lines, but I was thinking about a secret that Rick has been trying to keep secret, is why he didn't want anybody invading his memories, because the portal gun originally in my story was created by Beth's mother. And she was a scientist too. Her and Rick were both scientists together, and they came up with the concept for the portal gun together. And then she ends up getting killed, or somebody's trying to kill her, and the only way she can get away is to use the portal gun, and she goes away. And Rick is jumping in from infinite worlds because he's actually trying to find her, because she was running from the people who were hunting them. So he doesn't want anybody to pry into his head or know his true intentions, because he's trying to find her. And I thought it'd be an interesting twist, because we really don't know a whole lot about her. Nobody says anything about her. We don't even know how she died. The memory that Rick had was all confirmed by him, which we can't really trust. It was confirmed by him to be a fabrication. We can't really trust it, because Rick misinforms people throughout the show for his own personal gain anyway. So for all we know, in my story, somebody hunts Rick down because of his technology. Him and his wife developed this technology for the portal gun, and let's say they already had the memory device that he used on Morty. He erased his memory of him and his wife coming up with the portal gun. He destroys the memory, but he keeps the portal gun, and she disappears. She goes off. She goes her way. He goes his. And now it's him trying to find her before the people who are looking for her find her. That's why he wanted to stop the Galactic Federation, because she's also one of the wanted people that they're looking for. They're looking for her, so he destroyed them so they would leave her alone.
Well, mine would be because one of my favorite characters in Rick and Morty, besides Rick and Morty, is Mises. And I was thinking, I was like, what if the Mises box is just a box that can duplicate a Mises that originally created the box, and what if this Mises comes back to get the box, and Rick tries to keep it from him because he can create an army of Mises that follow whatever he say and stuff like that. But Rick, by putting a component in the box that Mises want to die, better yet, be finished with their job, that'll be the default. And but he know that the real Mises can reverse this component, and they can become his personal army to take over the universe or dimensions. It was just a funny episode.
That's actually a pretty dope idea. Because I think I saw a video online where somebody talked about there's a Meeseeks in the background of the episode where he takes Jerry to the place where you can't die, that resort. And I have to rewatch it, but they said there's a Mr. Meeseeks in the background, which would be weird because that means if there's one there, that means he based his Meeseeks on something he already saw. So that would fit in with your episode because that would mean he had to get the DNA from somewhere.
Yeah,
It'd be kind of like a built-in type thing.
And also remember the episode where it was some kind of blue worm-looking things crawling around, and Rick was like, "Make sure you get them all." And then they got distracted, and the bird like took one and flew off. And then Rick was like, "Marty, save your sperm." But they didn't really go deeper on that subject, like why he needs to save his sperm. What is these blue worms? Oh wait a minute, yeah, I do remember him saying that you become sterile, but
yeah, they make.
I still don't get that.
But I guess it's my turn, right? Is it my turn or?
Yep, your turn.
Did you already have a turn?
He made the question.
No.
I know, right? You don't get a turn.
Thank you. But anyway, I guess if I could make an episode, it would start off with Rick acting shady, and Morty is like, "What's going on with you?" And he like, "Oh dang it, I can't get in touch with this person." And then he's trying to look through his stuff, and Rick, like Morty sees a picture of his grandma and want like something that Rick got. And he like, "Is this like you got like is this grandma?" And he like, "Oh, wait a minute, there you go. That's what we've been looking for." And he pick up this device, right? And he goes through the portal, and like it's this strange area like world, right? And like the guy he's looking for is like a collector of Szechuan sauce. And on that planet, he like Morty bumps into another person, right? That's like cloaked and hidden, and he like, "Oh, excuse me," and then this person keep following him and like tries to kill him, and then he's like, "Why are you trying to kill me?" And like, and then take off the robe, and this is grandma's like, "I thought you was here to try to kill me," because like, and he like, "Why would I be here trying to kill you?" And I'm like, "Oh, because that's what all like the council of Rich been doing is killing off whatever they named her. I can't remember his grandma's name, but and that's how that story would be, like showing that like the councils of Ritz been killing off like Belf mom, and then by her finding out the council is like dead, then you got a whole new character to deal with and stuff, and also wanting to add into like the evil Rick. I mean, not the evil Rick, but the evil Morty some way, like as a cameo at the end of the episode. So maybe it can go somewhere with that.
You know, they already said something about the grandma, right?
Yeah, I know.
Oh, okay. You piggyback riding. Okay.
No, like I wanted to say something about the mom too, but also I wanted to do something about the Szechuan sauce. So I
Nah.
didn't want it to do two, like explain two different episodes, but so I just put it together.
So
I think that would be cool if we like to let our more like okay, like if Evil Morty, if they did like a little Easter egg of that where they show him and he's eating some Szechuan sauce, like, and we see he's as obsessed with it as our Rick is. That I think that would be funny.
oh, do y'all remember what happened after that episode though? The sauce. Everybody in reality, when McDonald's brought it back, they flooded McDonald's, man. Like,
like they bring it back.
yeah, they flooded McDonald's, and people were getting mad because they had ran out of the sauce. It was
There's
just too
there
hilarious.
was a jug of that sauce on eBay for like $200 or $300.
What's the name of that
Dang.
rapper? Chance the Rapper like tweeted about like like Mitt Reels, whatever it's called, and then they bring that back. And he like, tweeted about it. He like, man, I sure wish I
Oh,
could
they
get up.
it was recent. It was recent. He was talking about the spicy chicken nuggets.
Oh yeah,
Wendy's.
Yeah.
and oh yeah, I saw that
I
on
don't know why people don't know you can go to like Sam's Club or something and get it. So
I don't know.
can't go to Sam's Club and pick up.
yeah, everything they get comes from a warehouse. It comes from a warehouse.
You
Dang
can't
it.
pick up like nuggets, spicy nuggets that's directly made by a
But it's
company.
not gonna have that special McDonald's quality to it though, you know.
I'm sorry, but if anyone listening, forgive me, but I hate McDonald's.
Oh, yeah. McDonald's been banned from this house. I haven't eaten McDonald's in so
You
many.
eat some, you been too.
Oh man, but
All right,
yeah,
well, I was just saying I'm gonna have to hop off in a bit, but I appreciate you guys having me on talk about some Rick and Morty. I really enjoy the show. I put a lot of thought into just like what could happen. Like, I love Evil Morty. Like, Evil Morty is
Oh,
probably like
yeah.
my favorite character
oh yeah.
for them to introduce. And there's so much they can do. There's so much backstory that can be told and revealed to us. But I don't know if you guys will keep going, but this is your boy Zen, and I'm gonna go ahead and sign off, guys. All right, peace.
All right, man.
Peace.